We are talking Transference, also known as Escape the Dark. This one is directed by Matthew Ninabar, and this is somewhat of a confused movie, shall we say. The basic premise is we have these brother and sister, and they have had some trauma when they were young, as a child, and as a result, perhaps, these two have some type of supernatural connection, shall we say. Now, the female, who is been essentially in mental institutions for much of her life, seems to exhibit some type of telekinesis, that sort of thing. Mental powers, very much like your Jean Grey of the X-Men universe, things like that. Whilst the guy seems to be able to be almost a bit like Luke Cage, who's another superhero analogy. He's pretty much impervious to sort of damage and pain, and makes a living as a sort of like underground fighter. Now, the brother and sister combo are constantly trying to hide away from the government, and they are seemingly pursued by a mysterious guy on a motorcycle who may have powers himself, and they are really just trying to keep a low profile and keep off anyone's kind of radar. And what will happen? You have to watch the movie to find out. So we have seen a few of these kind of superhero-esque movies where people have powers and things like this, and how then maybe they would react in a non-traditional sort of superhero-style movie. And this is kind of another one. This one tries to be a little bit more kind of artistic, I would say, with lots of kind of like flashes and flashbacks, editing tricks, things like this, and it tries to have this feel, I think, of being a unique experience where it's very kind of like visceral and lots of kind of like flashing and things like this. Lots of visual stimulus kind of going on with the movie. Now that was the idea, I feel, and it tries to reveal things in regards to flashbacks as the kind of the film progresses. Special effects wise, relatively limited, but I gotta say what we do see are pretty good. The fight scenes are interesting, although they seem weirdly out of place in a film like this. The acting, not too bad, I've got to say, across the board. I think they did a particularly bad job, with the exception of this doctor, who I'll come on to. But what doesn't work, I've got to say, the story of this one is very convoluted. I understand what they wanted to try and do here, and the way that this movie is trying to tell this story is to have lots of kind of like flashbacks, visual tricks, kind of really quick cuts, things like this, to try and demonstrate, someone's kind of maybe mental instability and things like this. But unfortunately, it just becomes a real convoluted mess of a film with a narrative all over the place. The film doesn't grip you enough to really, I think, pay that much attention, because the story is so scattershot, I would say. And it's a relatively simple story, to be quite honest, but it's told in such a way that it just seems to be like just all over the place and have lots of different ideas and throwing them at the wall and seeing what sticks. And some do, but most don't, I've got to say. But the narrative storytelling here, unfortunately, is relatively poor. I mentioned the Doctor, without kind of revealing too much. I don't know, his character almost seemed unnecessary to a certain degree. I felt maybe it would have benefited from having a little bit less going on. And I know you want to have particular roles in a movie, but to me, his character felt a little bit out of place and almost a little cartoony and poorly written, is all I'll say in regards to that. There's a reveal here who are antagonists, and it's like, this is the most obvious thing I've ever seen in my life. Like I said, the fight seems a bit out of place in a film like this. It doesn't really, I don't know, they just seem to happen. I'm sure there's other stuff that could have been, you could have done. I don't know why necessarily you would get involved in the legal street fights if you're, if you have this sister that's kind of put away in this little hidey hole, and there's like weird things in the background, like all the people in the audience are like wearing these like weird masks that's never really explained why, and things like this. And the movie's just a little bit of a mess, unfortunately, and because it's so jumbled, it really doesn't make for a enthralling viewing. The movie does have a couple of good ideas. There are a couple of technical things I feel are well done here, but overall it's a narrative, which obviously is what a film is. It's poor, so I'll give it a 4 out of 10. Have you seen it? What did you think of it? Leave me a comment and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.